From body obsession to newfound inner peace and strength. We all have a story to tell, but we can undervalue ourselves and think that we're nothing special. And today I'm shining the spotlight on a woman who became a ward of the state when she was 14. She joined the Navy at 17. She was super strong, super fit. And as the years went on, the ailments started to shine through. The injuries started to become more prevalent. And she was just scared in general that she wasn't going to be able to walk when she got older, and life was probably a little bit overwhelming. So, hey, Veronica, how are you doing today?
Hey Peter, I'm good, thanks.
I'm really excited for today. Are you?
I'm excited as well. Yep, nervous but excited.
Nervous and excited. So, life is very different in your 50s to what it was in the 20s. So, can you tell us what you think that biggest difference is from the 20s to the 50s?
I think in my 20s, it
Yeah.
was all about body image. Wasn't about, it was just get it done, do it. Didn't matter whether you liked it or you didn't. You just get on, you do the exercise, and because it was striving to be this certain body image, and I wasn't even thinking about strength or anything like that. And I think now in my 50s, I've realized that the go hard or go home doesn't
Mm.
work anymore. And that it's about being able to treat my body, build the strength so that I'm able to do the everyday things that you take for granted, like like you've taught me about taking washing out, bending down. Not for 1 minute did I ever think about that I would be thinking about, oh, how am I squatting or how am I picking this up? Because
Mm.
it wasn't even on my radar. It just didn't happen.
Yeah, and I love that you say that, because I know that in our 20s and even in our 30s, we feel like we're 10 foot tall and bulletproof, don't we?
We do.
And I think it can start to happen in our 40s where we go to pick up a bag, as an example, and it's like, oh, that hurt. There's this little twinge in your back or something. But what we tend to do is we ignore that little twinge, don't we?
We do.
And yeah, and then it just becomes a little bit worse each year and a little bit worse each year till all of a sudden it's like, oh my goodness, where did this come from? Not even realizing that the body has been telling us there's something there that you need to pay attention to, but we tend to ignore it. Why do you think that is? Why do you think we just ignore those early warning signs?
I think because, well, we just get on. I think as women and as mothers, we just get on with it and you just deal with it. And it's like, well, just stretch a bit harder. I had a hip issue and I just used to think, oh, it's tight as I'm sitting down all day. Come on, let's just push this. And it's just get on and move it. That we aren't thinking about that there's a signal here of something wrong. It's just we sort of hold the family together and we just keep going. And I have always had that attitude. So I don't think you really pay attention to it until you're in so much pain that you can't work through it anymore. You
Yeah.
just you just do it. And I never realized, you and I've had this conversation, that the biomechanics are changing as you're not listening to that a little twinge here and that twinge there. Your body's compensating in other areas to take over where that part's falling down.
Mm.
And if you get onto, if you start early and pay attention to that, then you can keep everything aligned, which is something that definitely I've learned from you. Is I've never been so in tune with is understanding, how do I place my feet, how far apart they are, is the core locked on, and we're not talking just exercise, we're talking walking,
Mm.
going out to the clothesline, doing those things and being actually aware of what the body's doing. And I think it's just, we're busy, busy, busy. Our lives are busy when we're younger and we don't pay attention to it.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. There was something that you said there that was that we don't pay attention to those early warning signs.
No.
And we're busy, busy, busy. And I think that we tend to slow down. And Mother Nature it tells us to do that. We're getting older, so therefore we slow down. Do you think that we naturally start to pay more attention then as we're getting older? Or is it the fact that when the aches are screaming at us a little bit more?
I think it's a bit of both, because
Mm-hmm.
you're right. My personality is go. So, but if you were to say to me at 50, I know that I'm slowing down. I know that I'm not working at walking as fast and doing things as fast. So I think it's a combination of both, because you're starting to slow down and it's starting to go, oh, I am actually getting a bit older and I'm actually finding this a bit harder. And then you start to pay attention to those little niggles. And it might have originally in your 20s and 30s been, just a bit of a sore foot. But I feel as if as you get older, and you start to go into those perimenopause, menopause and onwards, is that you start to get all over. You feel like this hypochondriac, that there's an ache in the back and there's an ache in the foot and then there's this and that, and it's just this multitude and you think you're just falling apart. So it does definitely become more prevalent when you get older and you become more aware of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Now tell me about your childhood. Now you don't have to go into detail, but you've had, let's say, an interesting childhood. Some of us have had the luxury of having that loving environment and two loving parents, and had that opportunity to not experience some of the things that you and I have both experienced over the years as well too. How do you think that childhood itself has impacted that image of yourself, the body image, the obsession that you had, as well as just who you are as a person? How much do you think that has impacted you?
100%. I know that for me, it is always about proving yourself, and being the best at being the best, and not better than anybody, but being perfect, being the best, not showing vulnerability, going as hard as you can at something because that proves your self-worth. Not liking if someone said to me, I'll give you self-care or self-love, it wasn't something that was familiar to me. It was survival. Life was survival. And I think the body image is, I had control of that. I had control of the exercise and I had control of the body image. And so if I had those realms in a box, nice and neat, then I knew I could survive. And it comes back to that survival. So you didn't learn to know how to care for yourself. And so I suppose those signals of my body and who I am, it was like, push it aside, you've just got to keep going. And I think that's why, I found it hard to acknowledge and care for me, because I didn't have those skills given to me, or visually learn those and see them around me when I was young.
Yeah, and I think that in turn then impacts how you raise your own children as well too.
Yes.
So you'll either, follow what's happened in your life, or you'll go no, and you'll go to the opposite extreme. So again, then finding that balance between going overboard with the love and care, and still showing that life has boundaries and rules and everything like that, can be very, very difficult to bring that into raising kids as well. And look, I know that from personal experience, as someone who always thought that I wasn't good enough, and we've had this discussion before.
Yes.
I have to be 100% on. I've got to be perfect, because if I'm not that, then nobody is going to love and appreciate me.
Yes. Yes.
And so that's been a long journey through that, to start to understand that I don't have to do things perfectly, because there is no such thing as that. I can't achieve everything that way. And that for me, I firstly have to appreciate myself for who I am, and understand that it's not just the external part of myself that's valued. It's who I am as a person, and it's not necessarily that person that I was when I was younger. But it
100%.
can
Yes.
it can still raise its head.
Oh, yes. Raise its bits. Yes. You can get vulnerable, and you allow that insecurity to come in. That,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. Where you feel you've got to strive. If you're in a new environment, I think, like when I started with you, I think starting a new job, anything like that puts that vulnerability. And so you go back into that proving. I've got to prove myself to be validated.
Yes.
Yeah. And probably didn't know that as a younger person, and only starting to realize that as an older person, of the impacts that has had, and how it feels weird to say to love yourself. Like, that feels really foreign to me. If I was to say that to a friend or a colleague, not a problem, but for me to own that and say I deserve to be loved, and that I am enough, that's really foreign. And it's something that I've started to work on. And I think realizing that, exactly, what is perfect, and who sets the benchmark? We do. And why do we have to set the benchmark to 110%? Or we are enough on any given day at what we present, because we strive to be the best person we can, but that doesn't have to be perfect.
Yeah.
To be valid.
Yeah. Now, there's something that you said with me that has stuck, and that is that you felt broken.
Yeah, I did, because I got to a point where, as we talked about, I'd always exercised, and always done something. And, I did a half marathons and marathons and all of these things. And so in my brain, when my body started to say, that it couldn't do things anymore because I had a fall, my wrist got weak. So then I had rehab, and then my hip was getting tighter. I didn't know what was going on with that. And I got to a point where I had been doing boxing and Pilates and all these things that, it's good for your core and it's good this, and not dishing them. They were good. But before I came to you, I had thought, what can I do now? I go to a gym, I go into a class, I can't do certain things anymore. And how does a gym tailor those things? And then it was like, well, I go for a walk, but what else am I getting? How do I know what to do, what weights to lift? It was at a point where I had never been like that. I had never felt like, here we go, it's my hip, it's my wrist, it's my back. What do I do? And that was the broken. Was that, this is it? Is this it? Is this it? Where am I going to go with this? And this is what what life looks like, which then comes back to that whole, I've got to keep pushing and I've got to keep going. And so when I reached out to you, it was like I'd seen what your ethos was about, and it was, to me, and you had attended an event that a friend of mine went to, and she said that you were so intuitive and in tune with a particular friend of hers. And I thought, you know what, I think I need to reach out to you. And how refreshing it was to have someone actually accept those elements, or those limitations that you are getting as you get older, to actually have someone go, okay, I get that, and work with that.
Yeah.
Because when you say you're broken and you go, you feel like a hypochondriac. You feel like, oh, it's my back and oh, it's this. I've never had anybody actually work with me to say, well, actually, this is what we can do and this is why we do it. And also challenging the fact of just because you might feel pain, what is pain and what is going to actually build that muscle. So with my wrist, for example, I've been weak in my wrist since my surgery, 4 or 5 years. And I had thought, well, that's it. This is what I've got to deal with. And then to start working with you and realizing, you know, you're saying, you know, when we do classes and you talk to me about, you know, that pain, is it pain, like, oh, you know, I need to go to a doctor pain? Or is it that we're just pushing the boundaries a little bit with this muscle to get it moving because it hasn't moved before? And that is such a liberating, you know, feeling to have, that you can tell the difference, you know, and that you can now, I'm doing things that I couldn't do before.
You know, one of the things that you actually mentioned, Veronica, was that when you were younger and you could exercise and feel like you were in control of it, and that was the only thing that you could do in your life that was part of controlling your life. The rest of it, you were vulnerable and, you know, you were in other people's hands as such. And even, and I think if I fast forward that now to when you're in your 50s and you first started to reach out to us, you know, that one thing that you have always been able to control was then slowly slipping away from you.
Definitely.
And then you had to come to terms with that you've lost that sense of control. Oh, wow, you know, I now have nothing in life that
I can control. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what does life look like for me now?
Yeah.
You know, it was like, well, what have I got? You know, what have I got now if I can't do this? Where is my life going? You know, and you really, it's a scary sort of feeling because I've always had that, you'd say, safety net of being able to control, you know, the exercise and what I was doing. And then it was like, well, I can't do that anymore. And it was like, what do I do? The feeling was really uncomfortable and frightening to think that, well, what's next? Is this now me sitting at a desk all day and not being able to get around and not being able to do things? That was frightening for me, you know, and then they're not having, and then, you know, trying to work on the control issue of, well, what do I'm still trying to control it. The mechanism in there is still trying to put that control in because that's hardwired into me, you know.
Yeah, and it's an interesting thing because there's one thing about life that's very certain, and that is that life is uncertain.
Yeah.
It's always going to be different. You know, if you walked outside and you looked at the clouds, they're different every single moment. And life is like that. Yet there are aspects of it that we want to hang on to, that we want to fully control. And I think it's a valuable lesson for us, particularly as women, is that we can't control it, and things are going to keep changing, and we need to be able to be that little bit fluid with it.
Yes, that's the exact word I would have used, fluid. Yes.
Yeah, and when we can be like that, then we're not going to be so obsessed with things in general.
Yes. Yeah. Agreed.
And so I just want to go back to the body image and obsession that you had. So that came from when you were younger. I know that one of our other clients actually told me, you know, when she first started, that her mother took her to a dietitian and put her on a diet at the age of 8.
Wow.
And I mean, I know that was something that was more driven into us when we were younger. It was all about being thin.
Yeah, body image. Look, I think I was on a diet. I was actually going through some old photographs,
Yeah.
and just on Monday, and I looked at the photos, Peter, and I went, I wasn't fat, but my whole life was
Mm,
always, I'm fat, I'm fat. I don't look the image that I should be looking at. I don't know what I had in my mind, what I was supposed to look like. And I think it comes back to that enough and being worthy. But it was, I think back now, and I missed
mm,
out on so much of life. Instead of enjoying the moments and the memories, there was always this diet. I was
mm.
always looking for the next diet, the next fix. Let's got to go and run 100 miles to get to it wasn't about enjoyment. It was like, this is what you've got to do to have this body image. And
Yeah.
I honestly, the amount of diets over my years and the body obsession, it was huge. Huge. And I know that, as a young 20-year-old, I did some work on myself. And, I had to do this paper doll, and it was of me. And I could not look at this doll. I could not take it home. It had an empty heart. And so that image, that has followed me all the way through. And so
Mm,
it's been a really challenge for me to just go, I'm happy with where I am, because I know that I am I'm strong within. I'm strong inside and out, but not strong. I don't have to have the big bulky muscles, but I can do everyday things since I've been with you, working with you, that I couldn't do before. You know what I mean? That I was
yeah.
feeling like my hip. I can do. My physio said to me, "Wow, look what you're doing now,"
Mm,
because I've built up stuff. So I think my body image is still there to some degree, and I have to work on that.
mm.
I have to check myself to go, don't beat yourself up. I have to let go of that body image and be kind to me.
One of the things that really stuck out for me as well too was when we were in a PT session, and I record those sessions, and then you then have access in your own portal to actually go and watch them. And I say to you, go and watch this part of it because I want you to check this placement, or I want you to look at this and see what I'm seeing. And you said, hearing myself and looking at myself was really, really
Oh,
confronting.
it is.
And what I found fascinating about that was, in that one breath, you said to me it was confronting. And then I said to you, how do you feel about jumping on and talking about, the journey that you've been on so far, and, where you see yourself? And you've gone, oh, yeah, I'll do that. And I found that told me so much about how far you've come, because you were honest with yourself, you were confronted by it,
Mm?
but you weren't scared to
No.
jump on and have people look at you and have people hear you, because you value yourself enough and what you have to say,
Yeah.
because it might help somebody else.
Yes. And that was the driver, is that um, if I can share my journey and just change one person's life, and they're thinking that they're in the same situation and they can't find a way out, that there is a way out, that there is a light,
Yeah.
and that you've just got to take that step. Because it is confronting. I hear myself, and I look at my body, and I want to tear it down, and I it's that default that wants to go into place. And then I go,
Mm,
what? I feel great. And if you'd said to me as a 20-year-old and looked at me as a 50, I would have judged myself so severely as if that same person.
yeah.
But now I'm different. If I could give one lesson to my 20-year-old, was to not to have been kinder, and not to have judged so harshly. And so now coming on and being with you, I believe in what you do. I believe in every approach that you have, and if I can help someone with my journey, then my day's made.
Awesome. One of the exercises that I came across many years ago was to stand in front of a mirror naked. Best time to do that is when you get out of the shower and just look at yourself.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we will naturally do is we'll go to, oh, my nose is crooked, or oh, I've got a bit of extra flab around my tummy, or we'll start looking for those faults. And I've even heard supermodels who have said exactly the same thing. I'm not perfect. There is this or this. And that's the wonderful thing, is that we're all unique, and we're all special in that uniqueness that we have. But I had two granddaughters stay with me over the weekend earlier in the year, and they're both the same age, and one is super confident in herself and her abilities, and she's kind and she's caring. She's just very well-rounded. The other one is like obsessed. The boys at school tell me I'm fat, I'm not good enough, and this is at such a young age. And for me, that's devastating. But having the one who is more confident around the other one, having them interact, helps build her up that little bit that she needs to be built up. But I did say to them, didn't make them get it naked or anything like that. And I said, I want you to just look in the mirror, look at yourself, and just, what do you like about yourself? What can you see about yourself? And if you can't see something about yourself, then the other person can tell you what they see about you.
Oh, and that's such a valid lesson, because the narratives like that she's hearing is that she's getting the body image, and so that sticks. We stick with the negative. We don't take the positive. It's really hard to take on something wonderful about yourself. It's really hard to go, you pick out every flaw instead of picking out a really good thing. And it's a really good thing that you say, is to have someone say to you, well, actually, I love this about you. And, because we're so harsh on ourselves, what a great thing to give her, to be able to say that. And she has a sister that can give her that too. And so, if we can change that, because it's so sad to see at such a young age that we're so obsessed with body image and what it should look like. And you're right, I struggle still looking in the mirror, but you know what? I even say to that fat belly of mine, the marks that are all there, I go, you carried 2 children, you cared for them in that tummy of yours. Your body is wonderful, and empower it as it is,
But what I also love is, Veronica, that you just don't simply, I'm just looking for the right word here, you're not obsessed with your body. No. You know that it isn't perfect, but you also know that there are things that you need and you want to do, so that you can be the healthiest, fittest version of yourself.
Yes.
So you can live a life doing whatever it is that you want to do, for example, when you're 90 years old.
Yeah. And you said something to me that stuck with me. And you said, think about yourself. When I very first started with you, you said, what can you not do now that you used to be able to do? And you never think about that. So when you can't do something, you just stop doing it and you modify it or what have you. And do you know that every time now, that is with me all the time. And that drives me to now, when I bend down to pick up the newspaper of a morning, I'm thinking, how am I bending to pick that up? Oh, wow, I'm actually using my knees and I'm bending down. I know it's weird, but these are the things that tell me that when I'm 90, that I'm going to be able to do these things. And that is the part that is the most exciting, is that it's not about the body image, it's about what I can do, because in the end, I want my body to be able to get me places, do things, and be part of life, not sit on the sidelines.
Yes, yeah, totally. And how do you think, or what do you think life as a 90-year-old will look like? Like what is that thing that you want to be able to do? You know, are there multiple things that you want to be able to do? What do you think it is?
Look, I want to be able to travel.
Okay.
We have an opportunity to go to Europe, so I'd like to be able to get on those planes, sit for 24 hours, get off, and be a part. Not go, I can't do that because of my body won't let me do it. If I want to climb that church spire, that I can do that. And it's not age, it's about wanting to do something and being able to do it.
Yeah.
Instead of going, well, I'm 80 years old, so this is what you get, and deal with it. I don't want to have that choice. I just want it to be part of my life. I want to be able to do those things, seeing myself at 90 to be able to go for a walk and come back and, not need aids, that I'm able to live independently in my life, that if and when I get grandkids, to be, an active, involved, not a tired, worn out. I want to pick it up. That's how I see my life. I see my life living it to its fullest and embracing life, being part of it, and age not stopping me.
How do you think that you change that though? So, you've become, so it's more, let's just go with the mindset part of it for a moment. So we've gone from not recognizing those aches and pains that are starting to happen to, okay, they are there and I need to address it, to now I'm future fitting myself. So I'm looking forward into what is possible. So what is one of the things that you think you now do that has helped you go, I need to live in the moment and I need to appreciate what I can do and how I can do it and who I am, to also at that same time think about, I need to do this so that in the future I'm able to do it as well.
So mentally, I suppose, I just, if I'm thinking about what's going on, I have to make what I feel, I have to take action. So in my mind, I know that every day I need to take steps towards living that full life. So I have to tell myself, even when I don't feel like doing things, that I've got to show up for me now. And if mentally I've got to go, even if I'm not feeling, because you don't always feel like doing what to get yourself there, but knowing that that's my goal now, that's my aim, and I want that. And it's letting go of the past me and going forward, and I have to take action. And by me taking action is eating and fueling my body nutritionally, so that I'm living that life, so that I feel good inside. Making sure that I'm getting my daily walks in, or because I sit down at a desk, making sure that I'm moving and doing those things that are going to set me up for the future me. And practicing my self-care is that I now look at this and go, I'm worth it, and I want to back that me. So that is how I see myself getting to that point. So doing my classes with you and being surrounded by a community that are all aiming this, they're all in different walks of life. So I actually can see what the 80-year-olds are doing. And I want,
Yes.
so that just spurs me on and inspires me to keep going, because I can see what they're doing and they're living their life to the fullest. And so I have to take action to do that, to reach that point.
Do you think are you someone who has written down, so that you journal and you think about these things a little bit more? Or are you finding yourself allowing yourself to sit for a few moments in reflection each day? So what do you think that small action is that you personally have taken that it has allowed you to be more connected to yourself?
Reflection, 100% reflection. I definitely think the stopping and reflecting on, each day and what I achieve and how I feel about me, and checking in with me every day when I go to bed, is something that, is telling yourself a little story and saying, I'm proud of what you've done today. This is where you are, and saying to myself, I love you, you are enough. And and practicing that in my own, just my little few minutes when I'm going to bed, I do that and check in with me. And that is caring from the inside and out.
One of the things that I really think is fantastic about what you've just said there, Veronica, is that it's such a small action and that anybody could take that action right now. They could go to bed, they could close their eyes, and they could think about those points that you have highlighted. And that could be that first step that enables them to go and take action. I had a little smile on my face when you were talking before, because you were talking about how this is your biggest lesson, in the fact that you are slowing down and you're reflecting. The person that you were when you first came to us was 100 miles an hour.
Yeah, definitely.
Like 100 miles an hour. And, in our PT sessions, I go, no, we're just going to slow it down. We're going to break it down. And, over a period of time, I think I've worn you down.
In a good way.
In a good way, to actually go, oh, hang on a minute.
Yeah.
Because I remember the day when you went, oh, wow, doing that slowly.
Yes.
I can feel that more than when I was doing it in a fast manner. Now, I'm not saying that fast isn't good, because, you have to do all of them.
Yes.
Yeah, you have to do all of them, for sure. But,
definitely. Yes.
And the other challenge that I set for you was, I can guarantee, I remember saying these words, I can guarantee that when you go out for a walk, you go 100 miles an hour when you start. And I said, so the challenge is 5 minutes. You have to give yourself 5 minutes. 5 minutes. Look around. Think about how you're feeling.
And it's changing that all or nothing, is that it's okay to actually sit back and enjoy it and take it all in, and not be thinking that I have to punish my body. That it's actually just getting out and moving and enjoying what's around me. And I actually have you in my head that first few minutes. I've got a hill to get up past my house, and I really thought about what I was doing. And it's such a nice way to bring it into the start of the day. And that's a reflection time too, because I'm reflecting about how I'm feeling and how my brain feels, how does my body feel, and I'm checking in. I'm going, hey, I'm out here, I'm doing this, and this is great, and it just flows on. People feel when I come into work, I'm just when I've done sessions, and even if they're just PT sessions where we're breaking down an exercise and it's not bad out of hell, I'm energized, I'm up, and I feel like I want to give more for the day and to me when I come in, because I've switched it, turned a light on.
And I think the other aspect that you were talking about earlier was that knowing that there are other women that are going through the same experience, but also having that support available to you. Because I don't think we can do it alone. You know, it's a rare person that can get out of bed and exercise and put in, you know, what they need to, and actually spend some time looking at themselves and going, yeah, okay, this is wrong, that's wrong. Because I honestly believe that we all need help to be able to achieve whatever it is. Which leads me to a really, really important question. And I try and avoid this because I will often say, you know, what's your goal? And I will always hear, I want to be healthy and fit. So, but what does that actually mean? So I always like to say, well, rather than saying what's your goal, and you have actually highlighted this as well too, it's how do you want to live? Like, what are the things that you can't do now that you used to be able to do, and how do you want to live? That in itself is a goal, because you are getting out of bed and going to yourself, okay, I want to live in this way, so what do I need to do in order to live that way?
Yes, and that's exactly right. Is you know, I want to be able to do what I did when I was younger into my older age. I know that the ailments that I've come to you with, and it's been, you know, sort of 9 months or so, I am improving all the time, and I want to continue. I don't want the hip replacement. I want to be able to live my life strong. And what I mean by strong is being able to do the functional things that we do every single day, picking up the groceries. Do you know how amazing that feels to get the groceries out of the car and carry them and lift them up onto the bench? I know it sounds something small, but I want to be able to keep doing those things. And I want to, you know, look at me and work on me, continue to work on me, and know that I am enough. And by being around like-minded people that are supportive and caring and nurturing, and you know that your team, you and your team, nothing's too much, and you feel it's almost like a big hug that you can keep going, and it doesn't matter where you are, you're high, you're low, you've got it. And so for me, I want to keep coming and getting my mobility and my areas, and I still find them where I thought, oh, Peter would be telling me to do this, is I can see that I'm a bit weak on this side or whatever. I want to be able to live life pain-free as much as I can be, avoid an operation if I can, and to have a strong heart and be healthy. And what I mean by healthy is, it's not the body image, it's about how my skin feels, how I feel inside, you know, that glow, as opposed to the actual image. That's my goal, is to find peace with that and to continue to work on that until I'm, you know, if I can be like I am now in my 90s, 80s, that's what I want.
Okay, beautiful. So let's wrap it up. What is the biggest lesson that you want to share with someone else? What is the biggest thing that you've learned that you think this will actually be something that some other woman who's in her 50s, 60s or beyond could use?
I want anyone out there that's in a situation that was like me to know that they're not alone, but that they can come out of it, and that they can, you know, find a group like you to come to somewhere like that. As much as how scary it is, your life will change. You've just got to take the step. And I really, really mean that, is that from someone who didn't think much of themselves, that was broken, I feel so different now. And I think just reach out and take that step and start believing in yourself and knowing that you're enough, and start to build your body and get some strength behind it so that you can become the best version of you.
I love that. I do have a further question, though. It would have been a good place to wrap up, but you said something that I went, or as knowing how women think, being women ourselves. So someone sitting in their chair right now who's listening to this, and they might be saying, but that's okay, but I've got X issue, or I've got Y issue. And you haven't mentioned that, and you haven't experienced that. So how do you think, so that's me as being a woman going, hang on a minute, I've got this specific problem. So I'm actually putting up a little roadblock for myself to maybe go, I don't think I can because I've got this specific thing. How do you overcome something like that when you start to put up those little roadblocks in front of yourself? Because they are, everything that we tell ourselves can stop us or give us the momentum we need to do something. So how do we overcome those little roadblocks?
And I understand exactly what you're saying about those roadblocks, because you feel pain, you feel like nobody gets you, that, what am I going to do? I've tried this before, I've tried that, it's not working. Is that you've got to, if we stop and we allow that roadblock, we can't move forward. We have to break through that roadblock. And so it is reaching out, continue to reach out, like to someone like yourself, or to be able to say, I've just got to take that step. Yes, I might not have that. We all have different things. But if you don't reach out, then that particular ailment that you have, you might find that you'll end up be sitting in the couch, and then that's your life. And so you have to take that one step forward, reach forward and say, what can I do today? Whether it's just getting up and going to the front door and going, even if it's just to the front door. Yes. And that might be extremely painful, but to take that first step, getting up and moving from one end of the couch to the other, whatever it is, because momentum will help us break through that block. And so each step, it's hard and it's like walking through mud, but as you keep moving forward, then it starts to become part of what we do, like cleaning your teeth. We don't have to think about it. So it's about taking that step and moving forward. Now, whether that's reaching out to you, whether that's getting up and going to the front door, whether that's going out onto the patio and doing a squat, whatever it is that you can do, but move, take action, move. Whatever that is, step forward and believe that you can get through this. Whatever it is that you are experiencing, and surround yourself with like-minded people. Reach out, because I reached out to you, and until I had that, I felt lost. And I thought, what can I do? But if I hadn't have taken that first step, Peter, I would not be where I am now. And so my first step through my roadblock was reaching out to you. So if somebody out there is struggling, they need to take that first step, put that brick down.
Yeah, the hardest part is always the first step, though. It's 50% of the battle.
Surrounding yourself with people, like-minded people.
And the interesting thing is that if you're an introvert, like I'm an introvert, I'm an introvert extrovert. So taking that first step can be very, very difficult. but it's remembering why. So what is the thing that I'm trying to overcome? That's a really important factor. So I remember the first time that I did something, when I walked into a gym for the first time, and I was greeted by a 20-something-year-old trainer. No reflection on 20-somethings. I do
No.
like them, but
Yeah.
and I'm sitting there talking and I'm thinking, they don't have a clue what I'm talking about. Until in the end I said, oh, love, like, I'm here to join, so let's just join me up. So it was just, and
But
it just,
someone's watching this because they want to change. They want, if someone's watching it, they want to be able to take that first step. And watching this is taking that first step. And it's about what you just said about that whole, introvert, extrovert. If we don't do it for ourselves, then we're not going to be able to change where we are. We have to find our inner strength, no matter what that is, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert. We have to take that first step. And if you're listening to this, then you want to make a change. Something in your life you want to be out, and it's reaching out, taking that first step. You going to the gym, me reaching out to you, walking to the front door, walking up and down your hallway, but taking that and then building on that every day.
Yes, because it's the consistency that creates that momentum, or that motivation that we keep saying that we don't have, And there are days when you wake up and you go, I don't want to do this.
No,
and
exactly.
You and I are no different. We're exactly the same. We wake up like that some days and go, I don't want to do this.
Yep.
But because we've created some level of routine in our life, we might go, okay, I'm just going to do 5 minutes.
Yes. Yes.
I'm just going to do 5 minutes. So, but what you find is once you get that 5 minutes, you go, I might do another 5 minutes. Yep. And then before you know it, you've done the whole thing, and you feel so much better because you've
and it's
done
that feeling
the whole
better,
thing.
Isn't it? Your body might not feel, you still got the soreness, or you might still have things, but your head feels clearer. You feel able, and when your head is clear, you're able to take on the challenges of life.
Yeah. And I honestly think, Veronica, that exercise, movement is not just about the physical aspect of it. No. It is about your whole self. It's about what's going on mentally. It's about what's going on emotionally, spiritually as well too. So when you move your body, you are telling yourself that you care about yourself, but it's having that marvelous all-round impact on your life.
Oh, yeah, it's flow on. It really is. If the way, I've had some down days, and I know that I've spoken, and after I've had the day, and even if the session might not have been a hard session, to feel, I felt so much better when I went into work. My head felt better. There was a cloud over my head, and, just to be able to do something for me and take that movement really flowed on for the whole body, and there were a few days where the steps were hard and it felt like mud, but I know that I felt the benefits from that, mentally, physically, internally, how I felt about me, that little me, everything I felt, so speaking from experience and knowing, have just gone through that myself recently, is so much better. And then you get through that and you sail again. And, it's a roller coaster. Life is a roller coaster.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It is. Thank you so much for your insight today, Veronica. Really, really appreciate it.
Thanks very much for having me, Peter.
You are very, very welcome. Thank you.
Bye.
Hope you got something out of this, ladies. Please, when you've listened to it, please give us some love and send Veronica all your best wishes. Thank you.